of the thick skin. Most of these cells are dead squamous cells. Okay, here you see this is a thin skin, so you can see 4 layers of 5. Sternum basal or basal layer. These are the stem cells here. Spinosum, if you look carefully, you see spines. So spinosum. Granulosum, if you look carefully, you see granules. So, and these are the black squamous cells, cornea. Okay. Keratinization, I have already explained you. Keratinocytes secrete keratin, and that keratin enters into dead squamous cells, flat cells, and form keratinized cells. And that process is called keratinization. Okay? How the dead squamous cells get filled with keratin, that is special type of protein. Okay? We have already talked about 2 layers of dermis, right? Inner reticular gives 80% thickness, outer papillary gives 20% thickness, right? And 2 different types of tissue. Inner is dense irregular, outer is loose areolar. Water loss. Water loss takes place in many different ways. We lose water through urine, right? Through feces. We lose water through sweating, evaporation, all those mix. Now we divide the water loss into 2 types, sensible and insensible. You understand the difference between sensible and insensible, right? Okay, now you tell me, urination is sensible or insensible? Sensible. You can see, right? You can feel that water is leaving the body, right? So that is sensible. How about sweating? Also sensible, right? How about evaporation? Evaporation you don't see. It happens 24 hours to the when even you are sleeping, evaporation occurs. Okay? It's a small amount of water leaves the body through the skin. So through the skin, sweating is sensible, right? But evaporation is what? Insensible. You are sitting now, evaporation is happening. Make sense? You don't see that, you don't feel that. So both sensible and insensible water loss occur through the skin, right? How about breathing? When you exhale the air, water molecules leave the body. You don't see that, right? And sometimes you can see if you put a piece of looking glass mirror, right, and do like that, you can see tiny water dots. Sometimes so you can see that. So those are 2 ways, sensible and insensible ways we lose water from the body. And through the skin, which one happens? And? No, skin. Sorry, right? That means what? Both sensible and insensible. That's the purpose why we are talking about sensible water loss and insensible water loss, right? Skin color. This is a big issue, right? Sometimes people fight. Big fighting occurs because your color is this, my color is this, right? Throughout the history, you will see this happens. But for scientists, this is just not a big deal. If you have plenty of keratin in your skin, right? Your skin is what? Dark or what? Dark. Because I told you not keratin. I said keratin. Yeah, sorry. If your skin has a lot of melanin, your skin is darker, right? If less, it's whiter. We should not fight for that. We shouldn't fight for melanin. Anyway, so dark skin is more protected against what? UV radiation. Right? More protected against UV radiation. a small amount in human skin. Small amount of keratin is present in the palm and sole. And keratin is yellow to orange colored pigment. In some fruits, you have plenty of keratin, the orange, right? Or the colorful fruits.
That's why kids can turn orange when they eat too many carrots, right? Babies can turn orange.
Do they?
Yeah, they get like a little.
I didn't know. That's good to know. Okay. So yeah, if you some people eat a lot of fruits because their skin will look red. It says, your skin is already good. If you got dark skin, you want to make it a little bit brighter, you can eat a lot of fruits. That's something. Okay. Make sense? So keratin, yellow to orange, sometimes red colored pigment. So we say yellow to orange to red colored pigment, present in very small amount in human skin, mostly in the palm and sole. But some vegetables are like carrot, oranges and other fruits, colorful fruits have a lot of keratin. Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is present in the red blood cells, right? And gives the color of the blood. Why blood is red? Because of hemoglobin. Okay? So hemoglobin is red colored pigment in the blood. Another pigment that is called bilirubin. Bilirubin is yellow pigment. Okay, yellow pigment. So these are the pigments contribute to the color of your skin. Now you know that if someone gets anemia, have you heard anemia? Clinical condition, that is lack of hemoglobin, right? Lack of hemoglobin causes anemia. So the color of the skin turns pale, becomes pale because less hemoglobin, and we know that blood flows in the skin, right? So if blood has more hemoglobin, skin will look more reddish. If less, then pale. Make sense? So that is hemoglobin. Now bilirubin is yellow pigment, right? So if in someone's blood the concentration of bilirubin increases in the body, the skin will turn what? Yellowish, right? So that yellow coloration of the skin and mucous membrane is called jaundice, right? So yellowish coloration of the skin and mucous membrane due to increased bilirubin, right? That is called jaundice. So now you can see that by looking at the skin color, right? Change of skin color, you can diagnose some clinical conditions, right? You can tell this person might have anemia if you see the skin is pale, right? You can say this person might have jaundice if you see the skin or mucous membrane is what? Yellowish. Make sense? You can also tell by looking at the color of the skin of your face, change of color of the skin of your face, that this person might have high blood pressure, hypertension. Okay, flushed face, okay, turns red in hypertension. When someone gets very excited or angry, blood pressure is up, right? So you see the change in the face. Do you notice that? Okay. Don't get angry. Okay. So that you can tell that this person is getting hypertension, high blood pressure. Another is bluish coloration of the skin that is called cyanosis. Cyanosis is bluish coloration of the skin. Have you seen small kids, infants, right? If they cry for a long time, oxygenated, deoxygenated blood get mixed. So the skin color changes, become bluish, deoxygenated blood. So that is cyanosis. Increase carbon dioxide, decrease oxygen. So we can diagnose some clinical conditions. Now we'll talk about the glands of the skin. I have already mentioned here, you see, skin has sweat gland and what? Sebaceous glands, right? Two types of glands, sweat and sebaceous. Now, all skin glands are exocrine type gland. There are two types of glands in your body. You already know. Endocrine glands, you know that, right? Endocrine glands, your pituitary, we have talked about the endocrine system, right? There are glands in the endocrine system, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, right? Adrenal glands, those are what? Endocrine. But the glands of your skin, that means sweat glands and sebaceous glands, are what? Exocrine type gland, okay? Not endocrine. Now, there are three types of exocrine glands. Exocrine glands can be divided into three types, depending on or based on the way they secrete the chemical. So based on the mode of secretion, we divide the exocrine into three types. One is called merocrine. Type gland causes merocrine type secretion. What is that? You see here. These are the cells of your gland. Most of the glands have cuboidal cells, cubical shape. Anyway, so these are the cells of the gland. And in case of merocrine, what happens? Inside the cells, vesicles are formed. So these are the vesicles. You know vesicles. And these vesicles get filled with chemical. And then next what happens? These vesicles move to the apical end, free end. You know that apical end is the free end, upper end. So they move to the apical end of these cells. And then what happens next? These cells rupture. Exocytosis. Rupture of these cells release the chemicals. Okay? So that is called merocrine type secretion. This type of secretion is called what? Merocrine secretion. So couple of things you have to remember in case of merocrine. First is called what? Vesicles, right? The membranous balls will be formed and they will get filled with chemicals, right? And then vesicles will move where? To the upper end of the cells and will do exocytosis, rupture, to release the chemical. Another is called apocrine secretion. And these glands are called apocrine glands. What happens in apocrine, you see, this is interesting. These are the cells that secrete the chemicals. No vesicles are formed. Chemicals are produced inside these cells, and then what happens? These chemicals move to the upper portion of the cells accumulate at the upper end. So the chemicals move to the upper ends. And then what happens is interesting. The entire upper portion of these cells are destroyed to release the chemicals.
The bottom part of the cells stay intact.
Stay there. Yeah, very good. So bottom part still alive, right? Stay there. And what happens after that? Again, from the bottom part, the top part is formed. Make sense? And again, chemicals accumulate there. And again, the entire upper portion is destroyed. Make sense? So, the bottom part is continuously producing the top portion after the top portion is being destroyed. So, that is called apocrine type secretion. Okay? Another type is called holocrine. Secretion. In this type of secretion, the cells everywhere inside the cell you have the chemicals, and what happens under this layer, under these cells, you have stem cells. Stem cells. So what happens when secretion occurs? The entire cell is destroyed completely. So complete death of these cells occur. Make sense? Completely destroyed, and the chemicals are released. One example, female breast, when you feed the baby milk, pig milk, the milk secretion occurs by this type of secretion. The entire cells die. Now, you see here, under these cells you have what? Stem cells. These cells will produce new cells. Okay? So, new cells will be produced from the stem cells, and again these cells will be completely destroyed. You know the term right? It's a massive death or killing, right? Mm-hmm. Killing. So, by killing the cells, the secretion is occurring. Okay? So, those are three modes or ways of secretion from the exocrine glands. Why you need to know that? Because your skin has two types of sweat glands, and one type of sebaceous gland. Okay? And those three types of glands secrete in three different modes, three different ways. Okay? So all these three are taking place in the skin, when the skin glands secrete. Let's see the last thing. So two types of glands, right? In the skin, sweat glands, sebaceous glands. Sweat glands are two types. Eccrine sweat glands, they are also called merocrine. Why? Because the secretion type is merocrine type secretion. Is it clear? That's why merocrine. Another type of sweat gland, apocrine, because the secretion is apocrine type secretion. They secrete this way. So first one secrete this way, merocrine. Second type secrete this way, apocrine. Is it clear? Okay. So those are two types of sweat glands. The eccrine or merocrine sweat glands are responsible for thermoregulation, lowering the body temperature. Why? Because the secretion is highly watery. 99% of this secretion is water. Is it clear? So water takes a lot of heat out, right, from the body. You already know, high heat capacity. So this one is responsible for thermoregulation, lowering the body temperature. Small amount of salt, sodium chloride, vitamin C, antibodies, and metabolic wastes are present. but mostly water. That's why it is thermoregulation. Apocrine are confined to axillary and anogenital areas. In axillary, armpit area, and around the genital organs and anus. Why in those areas you have this type of sweat glands? Because the secretion is oily type secretion, and this secretion has some chemicals that can destroy or retard the microorganisms. So those confined area are the potential areas where the microorganisms can grow, but because of this secretion, they cannot grow. Sebaceous glands secrete oily secretion that is called sebum. I have already mentioned here, you see, sebaceous gland secretes sebum, and that is oily secretion. Okay? This secretion also has bactericidal action. That means can kill or retard bacteria. Okay, bactericidal action. Also, since the secretion is oily, it keeps the skin and hair smooth and soft. Makes sense, right? So if someone has more sebaceous secretion, they'll need to buy the cream, to take care of hair or skin. So that is the sebaceous gland, also called oil. Okay, make sense? So let's stop here. Okay, do you have any question? No? So skin has how many layers? Two. Outer epidermis, inner dermis. Epidermis has how many layers?
4 or 5.
4 or 5, right? Why 4 or 5? Thick skin has 1 more, right? 5. Thin skin has 4, right? So dermis has how many? 2. 2, very good. Most of the skin structures are present in dermis or epidermis? Dermis, the dermis. Okay. So you have learned about those things, right? The layers of the epidermis, layers of the dermis, the structures, the cells, those structures. Also you have learned about the pigments, color of the skin.
What was the second option?
Did I post on this?
No, you gave it to us.
Oh, I gave it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you guys already got this quiz, okay? I gave you before, but if you didn't, just get one. I think you got it before I had it. So that quiz you have to turn to me, okay? Next Thursday you will, after you finish, you will give that to me. Make sense?